slide here gives us some information about California, received over 5.5 million votes. It looks like California was split 64% for Biden and 33% for Trump. So it looks like Trump's votes were even up in California.
Yeah, and it's not super surprising, right? Because one, California was solidly Democrat and was always going to be solidly Democrat. But this year we had the coronavirus pandemic really influencing how we voted in a way that we haven't been influenced before. So there were more mail-in, more early votes this year than ever before across the country, not just here in California. So when you have more voting going on, you have more more votes for each candidate, and that was true here in California also. And let me just actually go through some of the exit polling. Now that we have officially called races in each of the states, let's go through some of the exit polling. The Washington Post did some really good work on looking at who was voting for who and what the sort of demographic shifts were and what the changes were in who voted for whom this year versus last year. And if you compare, let's say, Trump to himself in 2016, and you compare Biden to, let's say, how Hillary Clinton performed in 2016, just very, very quickly, Biden was +4 with men, and Trump was +1 with men. So a lot of Joe Biden's victory can be attributed to the male vote and particularly the white male vote, even though we know white voters are some 60% of the entire voting population. Some 2 out of every 3 voters is a white person. But Biden was up four points over Hillary Clinton's performance in 2016 with men. Trump was up just 1. Biden was up +3 with women over how Hillary Clinton performed in 2016. Trump was up just 1. If you look at the largest voting block by age, which is voters age 45 and up, voters age 45 and up constitute some 60% of all of the votes cast. Biden was up +5 over Hillary Clinton's performance in 2016. Trump was up +2 for the most part, race-wise, and we'll wrap this up here. Race-wise, Biden was up +4 with whites over Hillary Clinton's performance in 2016, whereas Trump was up +1. But Biden lost support with Black voters compared to what Hillary Clinton did. Biden was down 2 points compared to Hillary Clinton, and Trump was up +4 with Black voters in general. He was also up +4 with Hispanic voters and +7 with Asian voters. That's Trump, that is, compared to himself in 2016, whereas Biden lost support among Black voters, among Hispanic voters, and among Asian voters, as well. So whatever you think about how close the election was or not close, Trumpism is here to stay. MAGAism is here to stay, and the numbers bear that out. Hey, Kim. I think we lost Kim.
Nope. Kim, are you still there, Kim?
Frozen. No worries.
Hey,
fam, by the way, too.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
There she goes. Okay, cool.
Okay, so speaking of MAGAism, we have tens of thousands rally in D.C. to support outgoing President Trump. At least 20 arrested as protesters clash with counter-protesters. So they're out in force for Trump, even though he's the outgoing president. What did they think that this MAGA march, million MAGA march, was supposed to prove?
Well, it definitely wasn't a million MAGA anything. It was I don't want to disparage the people who who went out there and exercised their First Amendment rights to protest, right? But there definitely wasn't a million of anybody there, and it was probably there are a couple ways to look at it. Excuse me. One way to look at it is to say, hey, this is the last sort of breath, the last throes, the last fight for people who just can't accept that Donald Trump lost. Another way to look at it is this may be the beginning of what we see as the next stage in Trumpism and MAGAism, right? And what was interesting to see about this weekend's demonstrations is there was actually a lot of talk about Fox News, and in particular how you know even some of the MAGA Trumpists are very angry with Fox News, and there's also some reports coming out now about Donald Trump starting his own television network around conservative ideas to compete with Fox News. And again, there's also this talk about Donald Trump running in 2024 if he officially accepts his defeat, which I don't think he will have a choice. So one thing to say once again is no matter what, Donald Trump isn't going anywhere. Trumpism isn't going anywhere, and the MAGA is not going anywhere just yet.
Yeah, the slide up we have up now says Trump has told aides he'll announce his 2024 candidacy as soon as Biden is certified the winner. So it doesn't look like he's going to concede anytime soon. I actually woke up to on Twitter was trending that Trump conceded, and I was like, oh wow, that was quick. But in actuality, because we know Twitter got jokes, he made a statement, but people just kind of chopped it up how they wanted to. He won in the eyes of me. I concede. We have to go. But what he really said was, he only won in the eyes of the fake news media. I concede nothing. We have a long way to go. This was a rigged election.
Yeah, BS. And one thing to point out, and we have to be, I think, responsible news people here. Donald Trump lost the Electoral College. I think it's 306 to 232 now. Now that every state's been called, he has challenged. He has withdrawn lawsuits in Pennsylvania and in Arizona. He's lost a couple of lawsuits already, also. And even if he were to, let's say, somehow win some of the lawsuits that he's putting out there, it's not enough. The number of votes that he's fighting over is not enough to change the outcome in any of the races at all. So at this point, again, there may be some larger political reasons for why he is not at this point conceding. And to be honest with you, we said this on our pop-up show, right, when we were calling the election closer to the November 3rd election day. The Electoral College is going to meet, I believe, on the 16th of November, either the 10th or the 16th of November, and officially certify the result of the election. So to be quite clear here, the election results are not final yet. That is absolutely true, because the Electoral College, by its own rules and regulations, has to meet in this December to certify the results of the election. But that's not going to change the outcome of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks of voting. Right? He lost 306 to 232. You need 270 to win. Nothing that he's doing right now is going to change that. And I think we want to just reiterate that, because just in the interest of being responsible here, there are a large number of people, and we said this, 70 plus million people came out to vote for this man. If you look at some of the polling, some 2/3 of his voters think that the election was rigged, that the election results are not right, that the election was stolen, that there was fraud, widespread fraud, and that's just not the case. And not even Trump's own lawyers are arguing that that is the case.
Hey Kim, did you put up that California voters yet? How many people voted for Trump? I think we.
Yeah, we saw that one here. So yeah, Trump got 73 million plus, and Biden got 76 million plus.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on to some other important races happening right now. The Senate watch. What can you tell us about that, Chris?
Yeah, well, without looking forward to 2022 yet, which excuse me, is definitely doable, but without overloading people's brains, with more, we just got out of one election, right? We don't want to hurt people, now talking about the next election. But one thing to pay attention to is like we mentioned, the Senate races in Georgia, the two runoff elections in Georgia. They will decide who controls the United States Senate by a vote or two. And I just want to be clear, whoever wins is going to only have control by a vote or two. Obviously, if you're Joe Biden, if you're in Joe Biden's camp, you want to make sure that you are in control of the Senate because you lost seats in the House this year, and you want to be able to do some of the things that you campaigned on and that you promised, right? But that only happens if you have control of the Senate. And to be honest, even if you do have control of the Senate, it's only going to be marginal. And so, Joe Biden and his team are probably going to be relying on the use of executive orders, and also having long, extensive, drawn out negotiations with Congress, whoever's in charge of the Senate. But right now, if you had to guess, or if you were in Joe Biden's camp, you would want, even if it's by one or two votes, you would still want to be in control of the U.S. Senate, right? And position your party to maybe expand your lead in the 2022 midterms, or at least protect against any further losses, especially since Democrats lost seats in the House this year as well.
So the Georgia race, do we feel one way or the other about that? Georgia was able to turn the state blue for the presidential election. Are we pretty assured that they'll do the same thing for the Senate? Right. And then what about the House? Oh,
yeah, no. The answer to the question about the Senate is no. About Georgia is no. There's no guarantee that that it's gonna go blue, and it's a tight race. So that's to be sure. In terms of the House, like we said, Democrats lost seats, and so they are going to have to position themselves to not lose any more seats, and in the 2022 midterms, which, by the way, right now doesn't look so good for them. There is a big chance that the Republicans take the House of Representatives in the midterms. They have a shot for sure. We'll see if they capitalize on it. But generally, when you have a new president, that president's party loses seats in the midterms. So that doesn't, if history is any guide, that doesn't sound and bode well for Democrats coming up in 2022. It's not always the case, even in 2018, I believe, or in 20 in one of the more recent midterm elections, the Republicans actually added seats in the midterm. It's not always the case, but generally, if you are elected president, your party is going to lose seats in the midterm, and that's not good for Democrats right now.
All right. And our next topic, one of my favorite topics, is AB 3121. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of activity going on there. I know they're going to be selecting a task force. So, just a little information about what that entails. Article 3 membership. The task force shall consist of 9 members appointed as follows. 5 members shall be appointed by the governor, 2 members should be appointed by the president pro tem of the Senate, and 2 members shall be appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly. The governor's appointees shall include all of the following: 1 appointee from the field of academia that has expertise in civil rights, 2 appointees from major civil society and reparations organizations that have historically championed for the cause of reparatory justice. Not more than 4 appointees shall be members of the legislature. Members shall be drawn from diverse backgrounds to represent the interests of communities of color throughout the state, have experience working to implement racial justice reform, and to the extent possible represent geographical diverse areas of the state. The term of office for members shall be the life of the task force. A vacancy in the task force shall not affect the powers of the task force and shall be filled in the same manner as the original appointment was made. Um, do we know how any of this selection process is going?
Wow. Yeah. So yes, we actually do. We know. Excuse me. We know some about how it's going, but we don't know much yet, because a lot of what we do know is that the people who would be making appointments, have been focused on their own re-election. So the people who have appointment authority in the California legislature, the Speaker of the Assembly and the President of the Senate, have been focused on their own re-elections, and also helping their own members be re-elected. They've been mostly focused on that. There hasn't been too much attention, from what we understand, paid to the task force appointing process yet. Also, because of the fact that the law doesn't come into effect until January of 2021. So right now, there's a bunch of preparation work, shall we say, going on. But it's not too early for us to ask, and this is what we wanted to ask the ADOS community here, and the Black community writ large across the state is: one, who do you want to see on this task force? Who do you want to see? Right? Are there people in your mind that you think should be on this task force? And we actually asked this question on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter, and we got some of the most interesting responses. And I want to read some of those responses to you in a second. But for the people in the chat right now, for the folks in the audience right now, who do you want to see on the AB 3121 California reparations task excuse me, force? Who do you want to see there? Who are the names that must be there? And also, what are you looking for in terms of a task force member, right? So what kind of expertise are you looking for, right? What kind of background, what kind of credentials, what kind of education, what kind of experience are you looking for in task force members? So not just who do you want to see, right? But what kind of education and background experience do you want to see brought to the task force? And then finally, what kind of proposals are you expecting from the task force itself? What do you expect the task force to be doing? What do you want to see from the task force itself in terms of reparations proposals? So those are questions that we definitely want to know what you think about in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Definitely want to know what you think. Who do you want to see? What kind of experience and background do you want to see? And then also, what kind of proposals are you expecting? And I have my phone up here, and I'm just going to read some of the responses that we got on Instagram, because we put this on Instagram on our ADOSCA media page, and then also on our ADOS Sacramento page as well on Instagram. And we have some of the responses here. We've got names like Dr. Cornell West, Antonio Moore, Tone Talks, Yvette Carnell, Breaking Brown, William Darity, that's Dr. Sandy Darity, Ice Cube, Dr. Tommy Curry, Dr. Joy DeGrue, Dr. Cheryl Mills of LMU. Got some local folks here. Jamar Jefferson, what's up, Jamar? People were nominating themselves. Dr. Claude Anderson's name came up. And then it's been mostly a combination of those folks as well. Someone named Tamara Truth as well. So those are those are just some of the names that we are getting, in terms of who people want to see on this task force. Some of the most common names, though, are Antonio Moore, Dr. William Sandy Darity, and Yvette Carnell, as well as Cornell West. So, in the chat right now, let us know, who do you want to see on this task force? Who do you think would be a good person to have on the task force? And also put it in the comments too after, if you're watching this after the live replay, who do you want to see on this task force? And also, what kind of expertise do you want to see? And what are you expecting from the task force itself?
How about you, Yamoya? Who would you like to see, and what kind of credentials are you looking for? You're pretty well versed on the topic.
Chris Lawson.
I second.
I appreciate the love. I have nowhere near the kind of experience I think some of these people have, but definitely, these are. I'm honored that I'm actually looking at some of the other names from one of our other pages. Someone suggested Dr. Tracy McCarthy, who I think would actually be a really good choice. She's done a lot of great work on YouTube. And off YouTube as well. Again, we've got Tone Talks, which is Antonio Moore. We've got Dr. Cornell West. We've got Dr. Tommy Curry. So we have a lot of great names to choose from. I would respectfully decline.
Well, I mean, I don't. We're probably gonna have Maureen Simmons on. I believe it's the first, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should also throw her name in the hat as well. I know she's modest and a humble person, but just in terms of my humble opinion, since she was definitely the spark of this AB3121 as well. That's just my 2 cents, though. Along with the others that you mentioned on that list.
Right on. Right. And Kim, who do you want to see, Kim?
Well, I thought it was interesting when they threw out Tone Talks, but they also threw out Tone Talks in another conversation I was listening to for the Senate seat replacement, and I thought that was an interesting choice too. So either or for me, for him, or Yvette, of course, and all the names that are mentioned. But what types of proposals are we really interested in seeing?
Yeah, that's a good question. What do we expect from the the task force itself, and we definitely want to hear what the family says and what the family thinks. And from my perspective, though, I'm looking for something that's in line with the ADOS case for reparations, and there is an ADOS case for reparations, and so something that's in line with that, where one, something that nothing that has any chance of damaging or hurting or precluding the federal level fight for reparations, right? Because we know that the primary culprit and the primary party that's responsible for reparations is the United States federal government. And so, the first thing that I want to see is that in any proposal, or at least a part of any proposal, is that it does no harm, right? So that it does no harm to the federal fight for reparations. Secondly, going back to the ADOS case for reparations, I want to see proposals that target specifically African Americans, or African Americans who are descendants of persons enslaved in the United States, as the bill calls us. We call ourselves American descendants of slavery, but that's just another way to say those of us whose ancestors built this country, those of us whose ancestors worked for free for hundreds of years, and then were subjected to 100 plus years of what we call Jim Crow, plus are also experiencing ongoing economic exclusion. So that to me is something that I want to see as a part of any kind of reparations proposal, as well as being in line with the other parts of the ADOS case for reparations. Something this is an important step, and so what I would also like to see is that these proposals put pressure on the federal government and add momentum to the federal case for reparations, while also looking to what California can do to help either support that federal case or to get the kind of programs and kind of restitution started that the federal government would ultimately take over.
So kind of like a jumping off point, setting the blueprint for the federal case. Now I've seen it come up since Prop 16 just failed, the affirmative action proposition here, specifically in California. I've seen people ask, well, can we wrap affirmative action into reparations for California? Is there some way that could be tied in? I'd like to see that as a proposal. And then also, of course, no harm to the federal case, but I'd like to see something done about housing in California, since it's gotten so out of control, specifically with federal housing, with the CARES funding that's coming out right now with the COVID. That only really helps people if your mortgage is federally backed. If you've got one of these predatory lenders, you're really at their mercy. So I'd like to see some kind of protections in housing in California too.
No,
federal protections.
For sure. I think there's room to look at housing. There's room to look at marijuana and cannabis. There's room to look at a number of different California industries. California is the 5th largest economy on the planet. So there's land that I think we can look at also. There's more than one, I think, area to look at, and I'm excited to see what the task force comes up with. And also, to your point about affirmative action, I think one of the things that the task force is probably going to have to recommend is that the state of California amend its constitution to finally permit the state of California to target the eligible recipients of any reparations proposals, right? It doesn't make sense to do this, make all these proposals if you can't target the specific group that was harmed during slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing economic exclusion. So I think one of the things that we're probably gonna see, no matter what, is one of the proposals would probably be to recommend to the state of California, however we do it, whether it's recommending to the legislature that they again move legislation that amends the California Constitution, a la ACA 5, which eventually became Prop 16 here in California. That's probably going to be one of the proposals, no matter what, because that frees up the rest of the proposals, right? If the task force comes back and say we need to do this, that, and the third for these specific people, almost none of those proposals could even be considered because we have Prop 209 in place right now, which prevents any racial targeting.
Will definitely be interesting, and definitely, you know, gaining traction and support. We have Barbara Lee here, just tweeted out earlier this week, or let's see, tell the truth. We cannot move forward without coming to terms with our past. Let's pass reparations.
Right.
So gaining more traction, that's definitely a good thing. But on the flip side, there's always the haters. We have this post here. This was earlier in the conversation. Dr. Weber posted a post about reparations, and we had him coming out of the woodworks. They say these hypocrites want to lead the way on reparations, but they won't lead on equal treatment. I don't even know how that comment makes sense. Task force are corrupt. And of course, if we're talking about reparations, sooner we start with Native Americans. They suffered the most. How much could opposition to reparations, hurt the cause? Public opposition. I mean, is this something that would be a public, ultimately go to a public vote, or?
Yeah, no. So there's going to be opposition for sure. We should expect that, and that's why over the next weeks, months, and years, to be honest with you, one of the things that I'm going to be working with folks like you all here, and also organizers and activists on the ground, is really a very strong public education campaign around building up awareness and support from the ground up for reparations. So definitely something that is on our plate for the next again several weeks, months, and years. There's definitely going to be opposition. What you just showed there was some random Twitter people, maybe with the exception of one or two of those folks, and that's a tiny portion of the kind of opposition that we're gonna face. But that's why it's important for us as ADOS activists and organizers, not just here in California but nationwide, but especially here in California, which is supposed to be one of the most liberal, states in the country, to take it upon ourselves to be very active and proactive in educating and building awareness among first our own community, and then also the communities outside of ours about the importance of reparations and the need for reparations. So again, there's always going to be opposition. That doesn't scare us. That doesn't deter us. That's a part of the fight. And we will be successful over it. But we have some things to do to make sure that we are in the end successful.
So it sounds like we definitely need to galvanize the allies and allyship. How about as far as the task force is concerned and having allies on the task force?
Well, our opposition from the ADOS California perspective was that we thought that the entire task force should be Black Americans ADOS. We thought there was enough ADOS talent here in the state that that you could find to do the task force, properly. However, we will part of what the task force job is, um, one of the sections in the bill, AB3121, is the duties section. Part of what the duty of the task force is to um, figure out ways and come up with ways to educate the California public about California's role in slavery, and also the national role in slavery as well. So we'll have some help coming from the task force. To be honest, part of this is educational. Not everyone automatically supports reparations. Not everyone automatically knows what the case is. And we shouldn't assume that this. One of the things that we want to be smart about as advocates and activists is that we don't assume that people know, or assume that people should know, right? Whether it be black, white, or whatever. Smart activism and smart advocacy requires us to actually meet people where they are, and also to not, there are definitely going to be some trolls out there, right? For sure, people who are just not going to get it, and people who just don't want to get it. But that's not the majority of the people, and we don't want to approach the general public as if everybody's a troll, or a troll in waiting if they disagree with what we say, right from the beginning. So, and it's going to be on us. I mean, this is if we want the public to change this perception about reparations, we're going to have to make a change, and that's going to take on the ground activism, on the ground advocacy, on the ground conversations, with our own community first, and then expanding it out to the larger non-ADOS, non-Black communities.
All right, that it'll be interesting. We'll definitely be on the front line. So June 2021 is when they should be selected and ready to get to work.
No
All
later than
right.
that. Mhm.
And speaking of getting to work, another topic here. Incoming VP will be vacating her seat. Do Are we any closer to knowing who her replacement will be in the Senate?
We're not any closer than we were last week, and we had this question last week, right? And we didn't have, and so there was a big development this week, though, which is why we wanted to come back to it. This week, the California Legislative Black Caucus, the CLBC, which is our state version of the Congressional Black Caucus, held a I guess a conversation, and then also reached out to the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, to endorse Barbara Lee or Karen Bass for Kamala Harris's Senate seat. So that was a big deal this week, which is why we wanted to talk about it again. But Kim, last week you played Gavin Newsom's response to questions about who the Senate replacement would be. I don't think anything changed from his perspective, since then, unless he said something differently. But if you remember, his thinking was right now he's more focused on COVID than anything else, and the question of when the replacement will happen is further down the line. It's not coming anytime soon. And the question of what, the one of his I think takeaway lines was diversity is a given. So we can expect someone who's at least a non-white heterosexual male. Right? Like that's what that's generally what some people mean by diversity, right? Some just not a white guy who's heterosexual. So and we also had some advocacy from the Latino community who want to see the first ever Latino and Latina senator from California picked, right? And we talked about two of those names, Javier Becerra and I believe I think it was Alex I'm gonna
Padilla.
forget his. Yes, Alex Padilla, our Secretary of State and our Attorney General, respectively. So none of that conversation has changed. I don't think we're any closer, than we were last week. But it was notable this week that the the CLBC did come out early, really early, and in force for it. It was a unanimous thing for Harris. I'm sorry, for Bass and for Lee.
Yeah, I see that Assembly Member Shirley Weber also tweeted her support, came together to urge Cal- California governor to appoint a Black woman to the Senate to replace Vice President elect Kamala Harris. And they're supporting Rep. Barbara Lee and Rep. Karen Bass. So, um, good deal. Good deal
Yeah,
there.
we'll see what happens.
Okay. Do you have any other suggestions or people on your wish list that you would like to see in there, or you're happy with those recommendations?
I wouldn't say I'm happy, but I don't have any alternatives, and I think given what we said about the Senate earlier on in the conversation about how whoever controls the Senate, they're going to control it marginally. It's more. I think there's probably, and I hate to do this, but it's probably a 60-40 chance. And now I said it that the Republicans will win the Georgia runoffs or keep control of the Senate, right? So, and again, I think it's at least a fair chance, at least a 50-50 chance. And so the and so there's gonna be friction and there's gonna be gridlock within the Senate. At least we can expect friction and we can expect gridlock. Who knows what's really gonna happen? But we can expect gridlock in the Senate no matter what. So I'm not sure if it makes too much of a difference right now, whether it's Barbara Lee or it is Karen Bass. I mean, it makes a difference for their own political careers, but in terms of actual like legislation and actual like getting stuff done, I'm not sure if it makes a big difference. I mean, it may position one of them, to run for future office in their own right. That's definitely true, but that's a political career, thing. That has nothing to do with, a black agenda, no reparations, no, it has nothing to do with that. Also, a couple of considerations also is they would be pulling Lee or Bass, excuse me, from the House of Representatives, because the Democrats lost seats in the House. They are wise to pull, if they are going to, one, they could not pull anybody from the House of Representatives. So like that the safest thing for them to do would be to not take anybody from the House of Representatives. So because taking somebody from there would put their seat up for for re-election, even though it's going to be up anyway in 2022. So why if somebody like Lee or Bass is safe already, right? If they're more likely to be reelected than not, it's probably better, to not take anybody from the House of Representatives so that you can keep your chances of keeping the House strong in 2022. Uh, you know, but if you are going to take somebody from the House, you want to take somebody whose seat is safe, right? Somebody who in 2 years will, that seat can be held for the Democrat. So that's a couple other considerations that I think Gavin Newsom is considering, and I'm sure he's talking with the Biden and Harris administration, to make sure that they don't do anything to hurt their chances with in the House, while also strengthening their chances to get something out of the Senate if they choose them.
Okay, so some strategies at play, and um, probably will come later on down the line, like you said. Gavin Newsom's concerned about COVID right now. Uh, Speaking of which, we have some California Department of Health recommend not recommendations but mandates concerning COVID and travel in California. They're getting really strict with the uptick in COVID. Let's see what it says here. Non-essential travel includes travel that is considered tourism or recreational in nature. Essential travel includes work and study, critical infrastructure support, economic services, and supply chains health, immediate medical care, and safety and security.
Yeah, so we're going back to the restrictions based on the uptick in COVID. We hit 1 million cases in the state of California over the last week. And what you just read, Kim, are travel advisories, right? So anyone who's moving around in California, they're recommending that you, or coming into California, they recommend that you are doing a 14-day self quarantine, and they're also recommending that Californians ourselves avoid any non-essential travel. And this is something that we kind of expected based on the uptick in COVID, based on the uptick in cases and in deaths and in hospitalizations. You know, we had another probably 9-10,000 cases just overnight here in the state of California. We're closing in on 20,000 deaths for Black folks, or for what the state calls Black folks or African Americans. We are somewhere, and I'm going to forget some of the numbers here, but we are somewhere in the range of 7.5 or 7.4% of all the cases. We're only 6% of the population, so we're a little bit overrepresented in the number of cases. Excuse me, we're 7.4% of the deaths. Excuse me, and we're 6% of the population. So we're a little bit represented in terms of the number of deaths. We're underrepresented in terms of the number of cases. However, we're about 4%, 4.2% of the number of cases, and so that's a good sign. Whereas being overrepresented in the number of deaths is definitely a bad sign, even though that's been coming down over the last several months. So as in terms of Black folks, we have 31,109 of those 1 million plus cases. So for the family out there, and also not just with respect to the travel restrictions, we are seeing businesses having to be restricted. They're counties like ours here in Sacramento are rolling back openings, are rolling back business exposure, not just here in California but across the country as well. So and we haven't seen any real additional stimulus talk yet, statewide or federal. So family, wear your mask up, all right? Mask up, avoid crowds, stay 6 feet away, wipe down everything, wash them hands like crazy. All right. Protect yourself, protect your family. We are going into the holiday season. I know we usually go meet with the grandma and grandpa and the cousins and aunts and uncles. We usually do a big Thanksgiving. Maybe this year we want to scale that back a little bit. I hate to say it. But maybe we want to scale that back a little bit, as we are making our Thanksgiving plans for next week. It's not worth the future of your family, right? Think about the next Thanksgiving and the next one, and maybe this one we got to sacrifice a little bit, until we are more safe. But if you can't, still wear your mask. Try to avoid the crowds. Try to stay 6 feet. You know, and protect yourself and protect your own family.
And are they attributing this uptick to the fact, does it correlate with flu season at all, or is it just because everybody pretty much has been not following the rules and gathering at these super spreader events? Um,
Well, we always expected a second wave, right? We are that was whether or not you call this a second or third wave is up to you, because when we had the first wave somewhere around February, March, right? There was talk about another wave coming in the fall, but then if you remember in the summertime we had a early summer we had a big spike, especially here in California, where we had to roll back, from some of the opening. So whatever wave you call this, we always expected that in the fall there would be an uptick. One, because people are in closed doors more, so they're more with each, closer to each other. Also, the fact that we are also in cold season and flu season, the fact that we have the holiday season coming up, the fact that we've had, to be honest with you, mismanagement of the pandemic at the federal level, the fact that we've had no stimulus, for the past 6 or 7 months, the fact that we have politicized, wearing masks, there's it's just been a sort of a confluence of events that have contributed to what we already knew was going to be, a spike in some of the cases in the fall and winter season. So it's not just one thing. It's definitely a combination, and at least from what the public health experts are saying, it's definitely a combination of things. And we have a combination of, I think, remedies, also at our disposal, but they go back to some of the more, things that we have been repeating, oft for past several months, right, year or so. Wear your mask, stay away from crowds, stay home, don't go anywhere if you don't have to go anywhere, right? you know, and if you have to go somewhere, try to stay away from the large crowds. Try to also, stay 6 feet, distance.
All right, fam. Almost that time to wrap up.
all right.
So,
Yeah.
did you guys want to talk about the dim down ballot, the undervote, real quick?
Yeah, let's do that. Democratic down ballot, aka the undervote. Okay, so USA Today analysis of unofficial results in Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Michigan found up to 40,000 voters in each of these highly competitive states opted for none of the candidates listed on the presidential ballot by name. So how are we looking at that, being that that was Ado's strategy going into this election season, on the down ballot? But we keep hearing reports that, it's Black people that ultimately put Biden in office. Um, any demographics on how the down ballot, shook out or shakes out?
Yeah, yeah, and I think you just showed some of it, and to be honest, and I had a conversation with someone on Twitter about this over the last couple of weeks. We haven't seen yet, so ADOS is new, right? So like you really haven't seen a robust, organized, like nationwide political campaign around voting down ballot that's targeted in districts that could flip the election. I think the movement is growing toward that kind of power, for sure. But this was our first. This was really our first election cycle. And if you want to call it a cycle, it really was like 12 to 18 months. So just keeping that in mind, what you just read though was evidence though of how dangerous and organized, excuse me, robust campaign around voting down ballot, or what they call the undervotes here, right? Undervotes is the same word for voting down ballot here. Um, this is evidence about of even if it's not organized yet, how dangerous this could be. And we saw some of this evidence in 2016, but we saw some more evidence for it in this year, 2020. Even though, as the headline says there, the undervotes total was down from 2016. Some 1.7 million or 1.7 million people, I think, voted down ballot, or quote undervoted in the 2020 election. And as the graphic reads here, in the states of Arizona, North Carolina, Nevada, and Michigan, 4 battleground states, right? Those 4 states helped decide the election in favor, and I would throw Pennsylvania in there. I think Georgia is probably going to come down to less than 40,000 votes, right? In several of these key battleground states, there was 40,000 plus people who showed up and said, I don't want either of these candidates. I was one of them myself, right? Now, in some of those states, it wouldn't have flipped the vote, but in some of them, it absolutely would have. And again, we saw some of the same evidence for this in 2016.
Kanye West. I'm just playing, man. All right, so let's get to some business here real quick, if we don't mind. I'm gonna go to this slide here. Yes, family, we're still doing show intros, show outros, voiceover, script copy, 15 and 30-second promos, 48 business day turnaround. If you guys need any of this service, please hit us up at adocamediagroup@gmail.com. That's adocamediagroup@gmail.com. And let's see. I think we should have one more here. Oh, my bad. All right, so I want to just definitely put that one up there for the upcoming shows. I thought, Kim, did we have I thought we had a slide for that, but I guess it's not uploaded in here. But anyway, if you guys noticed, we have some upcoming shows for 11/19. We definitely have Rita Forte in the building on 11/19. Yep. And then 11/24, we have another community call-in, family, a holiday special. So put down that dang turkey, come out and join the call, family, please. 11/24, we're going to be here. We're going to be putting in that work. So come through. That's on 11/24. And 11/29, I think we have Citizen Edge. Do we still have Citizen Edge in the building? I saw him commenting out there. Peace out to Citizen Edge. Still TBS. We got to confirm with our brother. He's going to talk about, going to talk about the Second Amendment and, the legal carrying a firearm, family. Because, we do have a Second Amendment. That's all right. As those people and American citizens, right? Yes, sir. All right, Citizen Edge. What's up, man? So hopefully we can get that scheduled. And then we have a big show upcoming on 12/1 with Maureen Simmons. And also, I think Tiffany is going to be available too, right? Corals? Yeah, Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
From 80
Yep. So that's going to be specifically, we're going to be targeting that community call about AB 3121 and the task force. So that's going to be a really huge and impactful show. So we all got to come through, and you guys got to participate. We definitely want to hear from you, because Maureen's going to go into a little in depth about how she, came involved with AB 3121 and how she's been a pivotal person amongst all of us who've been supporting the AB 3121 bill coming up. So that's pretty much all I got, fam. What y'all got?
That's it. We good.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and smash the bell so you receive all the updates on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so
share.
See you next time.
All
Thanks
right,
for joining.
Peace.